Hey guys, Dan here from Your Guitar Academy, and welcome to this lesson where I'm going to show you 5 really cool blues licks that are great for beginners and intermediate players, but certainly ones that beginners can kind of start getting their head around this major and minor crossover. So just a bit of preamble. The focus of all of these licks is to encourage you to take the C minor and the C major pentatonic and start to learn how to cross them over. So this is a really big thing in the world of blues. So we're in the key of C7, C blues, and I'm using my C minor pentatonic, box 1, and my C major pentatonic, box 2. So apart from the very last lick, which I'll talk about separately, that's where all of these licks are based in. We're also doing some very cool note targeting at the same time. So I'm going to be kind of walking you through this. The licks are not too hard to play, but of course, as a beginner, all of this is going to seem pretty challenging. So do take one at a time as I walk you through it. So let's start with lick number 1. So there we have it, lick number 1, and it's a classic quintessential blues opener. So what I'm doing is I'm starting on this flat third. So imagine your minor pentatonic, box 1. This is the flat third. And then I'm going to hammer on, or I'm going to play, I don't have to hammer it on, the major third. This is your first cool bit of detail that you need to know as a blues player. Minor third to major third. You're going to be playing it for the rest of your blues life. It's magic. So we're going from minor third to major third. And then as I hit this major third, I kind of start to visualize the major pentatonic. So now I'm thinking of, if I play it right. So I'm thinking of this scale box, okay? So I'm going. So I'm starting on the minor third, then major third, 4th, 5th. And I am talking in intervals, something that even as beginners, it's good to start getting used to that idea. If you want the tab, don't forget, head on over to the link in the description where I've got all the tabs, all the backing track, the audio file, everything you need. You can see it there, as well as all this theory as well, this fun theory. So that's my opening. Da, 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 da. And then I'm going to jump up to the flat third. So this is really out of that minor pentatonic. That kind of sound there. So it really immediately sounds a bit more aggressive. Okay. Now, when I'm on that one, if you're slightly more kind of above a beginner level, so intermediate kind of level, you might also want to consider just giving that a very slight bluesy bend. So that's the idea of just bending it up a quarter tone. Okay, we talk about this a lot in my blues courses. Again, I'll link those via the blog posts that we've got below. It's just a really nice way to make it start to sound properly blues, okay? But that's optional extra for this moment. That's something you can add as like the icing on the cake. So then what I do is I come back to my root, up to my 5th, and then back to the root again. Okay, so that lick all together is like that, okay? And timing-wise is relatively simple. It's something called triplets, okay? Triplet, 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 trip, like this, okay? It's just got that kind of swingy bounce to it. Don't worry too much about the counting of it. It's just something that I would make sure I can sing in my head. So ba ba da da da. Don't even have to get the notes right. Just roughly the rhythms. Okay. So that's my first lick that I would try and play if I was you guys. It's a great one for opener of the blues. I'll count it in. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So make sure you do head over to the website, grab the backing track and try and get that lick together first. Right, lick number 2 sounds like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. Pretty simple, but very interesting, okay? So physically to play this is easier than the previous lick, I would think. It's just the placement of it, which is the clever bit, the kind of bluesy bit, if you like. So what I'm doing here is I'm simply going down my minor pentatonic. So I'm just going from this fret up here. So this is the 8th fret of the G string, but it's that minor third again. That's how I want you guys to think of it, that minor third. Then you've got the root note, flat 7, 5th, and then I'm going to chromatically is just simply going note by note without any gaps. So go like this, okay? Chromatics are a big thing in the blues. Okay, and the idea here is that I'm going to end at the right time as I come back to my root chord. So my root chord in the blues is the C7, and the major third of C is this E. Okay, so I'm highlighting this major third of the C as I get to it. So that is the cool bit about this whole thing. So I'm really targeting a note as the chords change. So this is a great lick to use when you're going from the 4 chord to the 1 chord. You can always use it when going 4 to 1. So if you listen to it with the jam track, so we've got the 1 chord, 2, 3, 4, the 4 chord, and I'm coming back to the 1 chord. So as I hit that chord, I need to play this lick. So let's do it again. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. You can hear as I get to that, it goes to the C. So counting through it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I'm very much on the 3 beat. 1, 2, 3. And you just got to roll through those notes. So that's a great lick to use when you're going from the 4 chord back to the 1 chord. Okay, let's do lick number 3, and it sounds like this. Now we're starting from a little bit further into the progression here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, so that's your lick. So it's not dissimilar to the previous one. It's actually very similar in terms of the timing, the way it's phrased. But this time, this is the lick that goes from the 1 chord to the 4 chord. Okay, so let me just kind of work through that with you. Basically, we're running down the kind of C minor pentatonic. So we're going to go root note, 5th, 4th, 3rd, flat 3rd, root, and then we're going to go down from this minor pentatonic note down a semitone, okay? I'll do it slower. Remember, if you want to check out the tab, head over to the link in the description, okay? Okay, so it's really all minor pentatonic notes. So flat 7, but then we're going to drop down to this note here. And it's a major note, but it's very specifically the major third of our 4 chord. So our 4 chord is the F. Give it a very big, like, kind of thing there. Or 4 chord. Oh, very nice. So 4 chord is the F, and this is the major third of F. So again, I'm targeting that movement as it gets to that chord. So if I do it with the backing track again, where we're at in the backing track is we're doing the C7 twice. We're at that point in the progression where we're doing the 1 chord twice. And as we go to the 4 chord, I want to engage that lick. So have a listen. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. You can hear it really brings out that chord, doesn't it? Let's do it again. Okay, this time what I'll do is I'll just do it a little bit slower for you guys. So let's just go minus 10%. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. You can really hear how cool a lick like that is. It really sounds like you know what you're doing when you target a note from the next chord that's coming. Okay, so actually relatively easy to do with that lick. You've just got to remember it's on the 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then start the lick, and it should finish at pretty much the exact time as you get into the 4 chord. So that lick, as a reminder, goes from the 1 to the 4. So anytime you go from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, start on beat number 3 whilst you're still on the 1 chord, and it should get you to the 4 chord. So that's a really fun one to try. Okay, so lick number 4 sounds like this, and we're further through the progression now. really cool lick. This reminds me of like a Buddy Guy. I stole it from Buddy Guy, but I don't know who Buddy Guy stole it from, but it's a really cool sounding lick. This can actually go pretty much anywhere in your progression. I'm playing it over the 1 chord, but I think this lick specifically, unlike the last two where they're quite targeted, this will sound pretty good over any part of your progression, okay? So the lick itself is working through the major pentatonic. So we're gonna go like this. So I'm gonna kind of a little slide into this first note. That's the 5th, 6th, root note. And then if you just imagine a C major chord, like a bar chord of a C major chord, I'm just literally taking these 2 notes, okay? So that's the 5th and the 3rd, and I'm sliding into them. So I get... Okay? And then, on top of that, I'm then going to start bringing that minor element and go... So this kind of back and forth movement here is me sliding into that major chord, then grabbing the 2 notes kind of on the other side of that, okay, which is very, very cool indeed. So this is the 6th and the 4th. I'm just flattening my finger there on the G and the B string. I do it 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and on the 3rd time I resolve back to the root note. So we get this. Okay, let's hear that in context again. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So don't worry about the speed. The speed is not an issue, okay? Make sure you head over to the website. You can get the backing track. We would even do a slowed down version of the backing track for you guys. So you know, as beginners, if you are a beginner watching this, speed is not your friend initially, but it will be as you gradually build these up. Initially, I want you to understand how these work and just be able to play them at any speed. It's still going to sound really, really cool. Now, like I said, I put it over the 1 chord. It can probably be used anywhere in the 12 bar, but if you wanted to use it exactly like this, then it's on the 4 beat. So that's another thing that's really important. As you do new licks, putting them on different beats makes it sound more interesting. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And slower, so 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So there's your 4th lick, and I would experiment with that one all over the 12 bar blues, okay? I could just put it in anywhere, so I might go here. Or here. Try and stick to the 4, 4, 1, 2, 3. It pretty much works anywhere, but it does sound, I think, best over the 1 chord because it resolves to the root of the 1 chord. All right, and now for our 5th and final lick, and this one's super fun. Let's play it. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there we have it. Now, this lick is the first one that moves outside of that box 1 and box 2. We actually start in box 1, but we now move into the C minor pentatonic box 2. So rather than the major pentatonic, which is right overlaying the box 1, we're moving into box 2 of minor. So box 1 is here, box 2 is next door. So we're using a combination of those 2 boxes plus the major third, which I'll talk about in a minute. Now, if that's gobbledygook to you, do check out the website. It's all written out in great, great detail there so you can understand this. And of course, we've got so many blues courses over on the website to really help you dive deeply into all of these ideas. But for now, this lick starts like this, which I love. Let's just give it. You might want a bit of a kind of bridge pickup for that one, potentially. I'll stick to the neck pickup for now on this beautiful Dan Electro guitar. I'm going to be going, so I'm going to bend up a little kind of quarter bend, half a bend, something like that, just a little bend. And then I'm going to go down the back of the fretboard. So I'm going to go on the 8th fret, 8th fret. And then, so you might have done that before. The Chuck Berry kind of thing. And then I'm going to slide over. This is me now moving into my box 2 of the minor pentatonic. And that's the root note. So that's always an option for you. Okay, I'll do it one more time. And then we're going to go like this. So I've got, again, in that same box, flat third, 4th, and then I'm going to hammer on from that flat third to the major third, and then the root note. So it's a very cool lick. And again, knowing where the flat thirds are, allow you to add that major third anytime you like, and then go back to the root note. Okay, and let's hear that in context. So here, where I am, is I'm on the 5 chord going down to the 4 chord, and as we hit beat number 1, I'm going to start this lick. So 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then here. Okay, let's do that a little bit slower, shall we? So let's slow it down to say minus. It's quite a tough, quick little lick. So let's go down to 20 BPM slower, or 20% slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, that particular lick, you could probably do that anywhere in your 12 bar, but I would try to remind myself what beat they start on. So this beat is beat number 1. So as you play the 12 bar, so if I kind of just go back right to the very start of this 12 bar, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Over any of these chords, so it's 4 and 1. And then again, hit this over the 4 chord now. This over the 1 chord. So you can see they all start on the 1. I can start to bring in the other licks as well. So how about the lick number 4, 2, 3. You can start to play around with any of the licks over any point of the 12 bar, but I recommend learning it as a full piece because where I've placed them is their kind of most ideal positions within those 12 bar. But do remember, guys, that the blues is about exploration. You don't need to take all 5 of these licks, especially as a beginner. That's going to be massively overwhelming. Just take one of the licks that you like and be like, I'm going to work with this for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, whatever it is, until I can feel like I know how to get this into my day-to-day blues rambling. It might be that in the key of C, you can kind of go through your pentatonic. And then at some point, you might be like, you suddenly launch into one of these licks and you can kind of play through it. So that would be amazing if you could do that. I'd highly recommend doing that. And of course, check out the link in the description so you can see all of this written up, as well as all the blues courses we have on the website where we really dive into the blues, all the licks, all the rhythms, all the lead, to be able to really pull that kind of blues improviser out of you that's just kind of sitting there waiting and will be ready to go after they've studied this stuff. So anyway, that's it for me, guys. I really hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you again for another lesson.